Mr. Pomerica's 21st Century Game Controller Collection. This is part 2. Part 1 was 20th Century Game Controller Collection. This is mostly laid out in chronological order. I will discuss them in chronological order, but I couldn't physically put them exactly that way. This first one came out in 2000. This is the Interact GoPad FX. It's a USB controller. It's made for early laptops. It has a detachable cord. It's basically like a phone headphone jack. Got the Saturn button layout. It's got these little nubs on the buttons in the middle, which are way too sharp and way too big. Pretty annoying. That's the worst part about it. Everything else is great. It's very soft. This is actually like the Saturn 3D pad, but different feeling. Analog circle nub. The only one like it that I know of. I don't know how it's made internally. This originally came with the carrying case and with headphones. Played Wave Race with this. It's good. Comfortable. One of the pads that I revisit from time to time. This is Cytec P150. Got triggers on the back. Very comfortable. This is my first PC controller that USB. At this point, they had already stopped putting a little knob on it to where you could tell which side was top and bottom easily. There's a little texture that lets you do it. This is detachable. It has a little storage space under here. You can put it in. It has a switch to move it in and out. I had a PC controller before this, the ProPad 6, but I did not have a game port. Somebody gave it to me, but I didn't have a game port on my computer, and I've never had one, so I wasn't able to use it. It's a Gamester Pro V Racer in 2000 PS2, or yeah, works with PS1. It's got the 1-2 buttons. These are actually analog, even though they don't travel pretty much any different than the B and the A, or the triangle, circle. It says B and A right there. These are analog. You push them real hard. It registers, especially based on the Netcon setup. Really strange D-pad, just for navigating menus. This one feels really good. It's basically like a half wheel. Like a half wheel that goes into the sheath. Turns from here at the bottom, and you race. Very good for paddle centering, recentering. Man, not even as much recentering, but paddle games on MAME and things like that. The Omega 2 by Nyko. It's got turbo. It's a PS2 controller. Buttons are pretty clacky, so I don't like that. But I do like having turbo, which with all the PS2 adapters for GameCube and for Xbox. So it's nice to have a turbo controller for that. There's a black GameCube controller. Of course, it's got the analogs that are analog, and then have an optional button at the bottom that clicks when it goes in. This is the GameCube version of the Racer. There's actually more than one PlayStation version, but this is the one I chose. It's got an analog stick. Buttons are a different shape than normal GameCube. This is the Z button down here. It's got analog triggers on the side, and it goes into the, not sure if it's, yeah, you steer it in and out with this one sheath. Let's see if I'll be able to get a video of it. Steer it in and out of the sheath. Sort of compresses. Here's the Xbox version. Original Xbox. Let's see. Steers like that. So it was the first one I got. Couldn't get an adapter to work for it on the PC, and I bought the GameCube one. That one didn't work for the PC, so I finally just bought the PS2 version. That's why I have all three. They are all differently designed. The GameCube version has dual analog sticks. They all have different types of D-pads, all different button layouts. Really, really good, really cool the way they did it for different systems. Xbox one looks the coolest because it's in the shape of the X. I got the Xbox controller S. have a modded Xbox. I got a lot of emulators for it. So I really love the white black buttons down here. Have that for like a load state, save state. Back and start. You can use that as a reset in the emulators. I like the feel of it. The buttons feel fantastic. They look fantastic. I think they feel better than the 360 and the Xbox One as far as buttons go. I think they look better too. I think the Xbox One controller sort of looks like a original Xbox knockoff third-party controller. Used to have the original Xbox controller, but right analog broke on it. Eventually, I just lost it, or a friend lost it, or something like that. I like the size of the what they call the Duke, the original Xbox controller. But it's like for playing Soul Calibur 2 because the buttons were slanted. This is the Yamaha MS1 Motorsports controller. It's a PlayStation 2. Actually, it came with an adapter for Xbox and GameCube. I believe this one is analog. This one is just a button. You can turn this throttle analog, and then you have the R buttons. You have the face buttons down here. Very cool start button. You got a select button. Forget what happens when that changes, but it has a feature to turn headlights on. It has headlights in the front. So when you plug up, you can turn on the headlights. That's fun. And of course, you steer like a motorbike. It's very cool, and there's a D-pad. Pretty sure even these are like the Nikon. Well, at this point it's not like the Nikon, it's just like the PS2. Those are analog as well. It's fun, played different games with it. It's the Gamester FPS Master. Came out for PlayStation 2 and the Xbox. Very uniquely designed. It has even level joysticks, almost Wii U like. So start select. You got your two buttons here next to it, so you can play your old school games that way with your jump and action. It's got a D-pad that kind of sucks, but doesn't hurt your fingers. Lots of different programming features. Forget exactly what. Here's the main things about it. It's got actual gun triggers as you have for a trigger. Xbox one would be analog. This PS2 one is not analog, but it feels really cool. It feels like you're dual wielding pistols, and it's got these very smartly positioned buttons back here for your fingers, so you can access all sorts of buttons. Very unique. Forget the name of the game that I played it. It's a first-person shooter on Windows. It's real cute. So you got smiles and colorful. I can't remember. It's a Dual Force 2 Pro Microcon. At this point, these analog sticks are sticky. If they weren't, I would probably use it more because it's got a macro feature. You can reprogram any of the buttons, and it's got a really cool looking cord. There's a DK Bongo controller. Hey, cat's getting wild over here. Oh, they're smelling these game controllers, making them mad. DK Bongos. Each side, they have lines to delineate it. Is a separate button that maps to your face buttons on the GameCube controller. Start button. Interestingly, it's got a microphone. If you blow into this, it registers as movement on the C-stick on the GameCube controller if you blow into the microphone. I've tested it out for playing music on the PC. I don't know if I've actually made any songs, but very soft, very smooth, very cool that it has two there. I did not think it had two buttons when I bought it. Next one, it has to be over here because it's so big. It's the Gamester Race Pack. It's basically a kart controller. Comes PS2 hookup and Xbox hookup. It's funny because I use the adapter to play Mario Kart. It has a latch. It folds up, and it has a storage case for the wheel. All of that's built in. You don't have to put it in a separate case. You sit there and you got your wheel with all sorts of excellent button layout. Your normal, and you can change the sensitivity on the fly. Tells you which map's which as far as if you're using Star Select. It's got buttons on the back, or 2 each. Forget exactly what maps are what. And on the back, you can adjust the position of the wheel. It's got a knob to turn. You can turn it closer or higher. All of it's adjustable. How far the wheel is from your body, how far the pedals are from the wheel. It's all adjustable. It's got the pedals here. Feels really cool. It's like you're really in a, minus the no rumble. Feels like you're really in a go-kart. Got it from a Goodwill, really cheap. We got the Cytec P990, which currently is one of my favorite controllers ever, simply because it has 4 trigger buttons, 4 shoulders, and 6 face buttons. I own 100 plus controllers, and this is the only one like that. Problem with this and a lot of PC controllers that add have 6 face buttons, they replace the menu buttons. But this FPS button, as far as current system, putting it on a current PC, acts as a button as well. So it has one more button than most game controllers. They all top out with the Start Select. That would be these 2 in this case. But it's got that FPS button. It gives you 1 extra button. I do have a controller with more buttons than that, but not as far as face button go, and it's not comfortable. The Wingman Attack 2 flight stick. It's analog. I beat Space Harrier 2 on the Genesis with this. It's an Acquire analog. It's comfortable in the seat. It's got a hand rest. It's got a throttle. It's the only controller I have with a throttle at this time. You can, for emulation, you can use that for Circus, Acrobat TV, paddle controller, Arkanoid type games. It's got a good feeling clicky buttons. A nice trigger. Extra buttons down there to use with the other hand. So you can do it one-handed, or you can add those extra buttons for extra features. That's a third-party GameCube controller. I bought this one before I could afford a regular GameCube controller. It kind of sucks. The button is really sticky. I don't know if it's always been that way, but don't really plan on playing that one anymore. This is a Dream Gear Mini Wheel PlayStation. You turn, got all your buttons. Played some Burnout for the GameCube on this. This thing right here tells you how much essentially gas you're given for your analog. Triggers are analog. I believe they simulate right analog. I'm not sure. They weren't analog when I hooked it for PC, but when I used on a GameCube adapter, it did register as analog. It's the Xbox Pelican Blade C-Type. Oddly named controller. I got it for original Xbox because it had white and black as shoulder buttons, which is convenient. At the time, I didn't have a lot of PC controllers, unlike now, obviously. And I found out that that original Xbox controllers were essentially USB wired. They just have one extra wiring them, which you don't have to use. So I cut this sucker open and cut open an extra USB cable I had and taped it all back together, and this is just for PC right now because of that. This is the 4-in-1 wireless gamepad by Z-Joy. It doesn't have any logo on it. It's wireless. The analog click is very stiff, but it's wireless. That's why I got it for original Xbox. The adapter also has PlayStation 2, GameCube. Has USB. USB is the only one I couldn't get to work. But that's the wireless receiver. It has turbo. That's one of the other things I really wanted about it. I basically can't find out anything about this online anymore. It takes 3 AAAs. See plenty of wired ones for sale online nowadays, but not recently. There's your on-off to connect. Had trouble connecting it a lot, but it's cool to have a wireless remote for your original Xbox. We'll move on to the Xbox 360. I actually own a 360. Not enough money, even after all these years. I bought this one off of eBay. It's shipped from China. I don't know if this is normal for Xbox controllers. It had like the official Microsoft packaging, but this, hear that? It almost came like that. The sticks were just really grindy and rough. I like how the buttons, plastic sort of raises up to the buttons. That's nice. I think the actual physical layout of the controller is one of the best ever. I like having the analog stick in the right corner. I like how these go. I like the shorter trigger as opposed to Dreamcast original Xbox. They doesn't hurt your finger near as much. Position and start button's a great place. Back button could be better. But I don't ever play with this because it's like that. The reason I originally bought it was for PC games that had XI input. They would just automatically set up for the controller. It worked okay for a little while, but in that sense I don't like it at all. I do like the bumpers, sort of reminiscent of the Saturn controller, but with a little more spring back, which is bad. It hurts your fingers. This jumble is the body pad. I thought this was like a gyroscopic accelerometer motion type controller, but it's not. It's a controller. Put this in your hand. It's got D-pad, customizable button. It's got your 4 L buttons, customizable button. Strap those in your hand, and these wires, which are soft wires. It's awesome. They're soft, but they carry electrical signals. You strap them on. Strap these parts here to your arms, as it shows, and your legs behind your knee, as it shows. Just show you the diagram for it. You can customize which button does what, and basically it's sort of like snapping a gi, I guess. When you punch, you bend your arm enough to click it. You go, and you kick your leg back. You bend your knee back enough to click it for the leg. I played with it for a while. It's really hard to hook up. Even though mine was completely fresh in box, it's real gooey and weird feeling right from the start. It's the plastic, maybe the storage or something was messed up. And it was a whole lot of fun. Just a lot of detangly setup for it. Here's the box right here, the body pad. I don't actually have a PS2, so I can't. It says that some games were made for it. That didn't really make sense, since it's basically just transmitting buttons. I think that's what it says. Because they're just trying to say compatible for compatible. So it's compatible with everything. But it's fun. It's pretty much the only controller that I have that lets you register kicks. Because it's, instead of having unreliable motion technology, it registers to your actual, you hitting a button on your body. So it's sort of, body pad. Which works out great. There's a Guitar Hero controller here. It's the Guitar Hero 2 Gibson SG. Not the old clicky one. These buttons always want my finger out. I actually use this to play Super Mario World. You go left, right, duck. You got your run and jump up here. Wiimote, which I think is great. One of the best controllers ever made. Perfect for old school and a lot of new fresh things. Nunchuck. It's not very comfortable to me. In games particularly like Knights, Journey into Dreams, it feels like your thumb slips off a lot. I got a wireless nunchuck that I prefer the button feel of. This is a classic controller knockoff. I got it from eBay. Not officially made by Nintendo. I don't believe Nintendo ever made a black version. Unlike the N64, Genesis, Super Nintendo, Retrobit or whatever, whoever makes them, knockoff controllers that they make nowadays that suck. This is awesome. It feels pretty much like the real thing, if not exactly like the real thing, and it looks cool. So I don't mind not having the real thing. Got your Mad Catz arcade game stick. This is one of the most unique controllers of the 21st century, believe it or not. It's because it has the old-fashioned Atari third-party joystick. It's actually attached to an analog stick. I wonder if you unscrew it, if it was just a stick under there, top like that. It's got the button on top. It maps to A, I believe. Move around. Very fun. Works great for. So good for emulation. I don't have a 360 like I said, but it's USB. It hooks up to PC. So many awesome old games you can just play with the one button and the cool stick, and it's analog, so it's just smoother. It doesn't resist you like the old school one. You can even hold it like this, hold it up like that, and use the buttons. And it's got variable turbo that you can change. The triggers are very nice, and this is the feature I got it for. It's the only, aside from the horizontal controller, released only in Japan, the only controller in the 21st century with a spinner, officially released by anybody. It basically maps to the D-pad. Turning it is like tap tap tap. You turn it faster, tap 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 tap. This is the right analog stick. Sometimes it can be a little jittery, which is a funny thing. It's sort of authentic for a pedal controller, but it spins endlessly. I like to use these in conjunction. I map this to the left, right, and then this for like slow, precise movements, and then this for get to the other side of the screen quick for Arkanoid type, polling type games. Use these together. It works fantastic. This is the. Sorry, I'm having to look up the names on the screen just to get the names right. This is the Dance Drum by Pelican for PlayStation 2. I did mine. It usually comes with plastic drumsticks. I don't have those, but basically you can push them down. Unlike the Rock Band Guitar Hero drums, you can't use your palms on them. Really, you can punch them, but you can't use your palms. So you can just have this giant. Either use the drums, or you can use the drumsticks, or you can use with your hands, or you can just do normal hand presses. What I do is I rotate it diagonal, play Q*bert with it. Fantastic Q*bert controller. This one where you play games sort of with your palms differently, if your thumbs or fingers getting sore or whatever. I think the Guitar Hero 2 Explorer for 360. I basically got this so I could hook it up to a program on my PC that lets you do strumming and custom chords for real guitar chords. Make songs with it. That way you can actually get the rhythm down. It's really hard to do that with the keyboard. You can do the strum rhythm, and it registers the strum up and down, which is great. made some songs with it. It's great. I forget the name of the program. I think it's Real Guitar or something like that. It's a Thrustmaster 3-in-1 dual trigger. The analog sticks, they feel fine, they're cool, they're transparent. Click is a bit harsh, I never like that. The buttons, way too plasticky and just cracky. I think that sucks. D-pad's okay, not great. The unique thing about this controller, the only 6-shoulder button controller, legitimately. I believe there's a 360 one or something that is illegitimate in the sense that it just remaps to something, but your analog trigger, this is for PS3 or PS2 or PC, which PC uses all of them. These shoulder buttons are fantastic, feel great. That trigger is fantastic. I'd really like this if these buttons were okay, but I mean, you could play Street Fighter with just shoulder buttons if you want, because it's got the 3 on each side. I want to think of more things I could do with it, just because of the amount of shoulder buttons. It's hard to think of because these buttons right here are so clacky. It actually has, because those are legit buttons, has more buttons than that right there, making it the tie, a sort of tie for the most buttons I have on the controller. I have the active light mat for the Wii. It hooks up to the GameCube port made by Namco. The original NES Power Pad had like 2 rows where people could stand side by side and race against each other, and then you flip it over and it had pretty much a design that looks exactly like this, as far as I remember. It's essentially 2 players. You have one person stand there, you go back there, and you go here and there. Of course, the carriage is jumping on the games. I've got the games for it. Fun minecart game I play with my wife. You can use it to emulate a Power Pad. It's kind of hard to set up on X-Padder because it maps to a GameCube controller and you can't really set up analogs as separate buttons as far as how the design goes. It's fun, it's cool, and it was cheap. Look at the Rock Band drums. Those are for the 360. Got the drumsticks for those. I also have the stand, but I didn't feel like hooking it all up. I have the Wii balance board, which I've had a lot of fun times with, either my own or with other people's. And I have the common wireless nunchuck, which I prefer to the normal nunchuck. Because look at this, it's got a finger rest built in, which is a great idea. The buttons are full size, feels great, and it's wireless. Use this button to turn it off. The other button that's blinking is to sync it up with the Wiimote. If you got a modded where you don't want to have this hook, you don't want to have it hooked up to anything until you're in the game or screw around, because it's on a normal controller. And that's all for this portion. I've got more, but I couldn't fit them all in one picture or even in the room. As you see, there's the kitchen. So there